Hi, you're welcome. And this is Associate Professor Howtolevelupthemarketinggame, and you're welcome to another session of Management Insights. We're keeping it short and simple. So today we're going to be discussing on marketing mix. And this is a very interesting topic because I know a lot of viewers, want to understand how am I able to put together my product in a way that matches what my customer wants and need, and then what price do I provide for them in terms of what works, or what will get them to buy my product, and then finally, how do I communicate that product to them? And this is what marketing mix does. Is a strategy basically that helps to look at all various elements of a product or of a business, and making sure that you're able to strategize or align those strategies towards the common goal of that business or product that you are focusing on. So today we're going to dabble into that. All right, so talking about marketing mix, we can say that the traditional marketing mix we know it as the 4Ps. So I know everybody knows the 4Ps of marketing, which is what? We have the product, we have the place, we have the price, and we have what? The promotion. So knowing what your product, the strategy you're going to adapt for your product in terms of how your product will look, the packaging, how it will taste, and of course, number one, the quality is essential towards trying to get your product sold in the market. So that's the product in terms of one of the 4Ps. Then you have, of course, the price. The price tends to focus on what pricing strategy or price range you want to focus on in terms of trying to get your product sold. Again, we're going to go in depth into that. And then you have that's the promotion. The promotion tends to, of course, look at the communication strategy that you're going to use towards trying to promote your product in the market and trying to get your product across to your target market or your customers, and so that at the end of the day you attract them to actually buy the product. So what promotional strategy do you need to adapt that will work for the target market that you are focused on? Then of course we have the place, and the place of course focuses on the distribution channel. So what type of distribution channel needs to be used? Are you going to use wholesalers? Is it going to be direct buying and selling, whereby they'll buy directly from the industry, or the company itself? Or are you going to use sales representatives to go around and then actually sell the product? Again, it depends on really studying your environment, studying your target market after identifying them, and then knowing how to strategize all those 4Ps in terms of product, place, price, and promotion. And this is what we're going to look at. But it also is important that we understand that the 4Ps of the marketing mix, it got updated from Booms and Binter in 1981. So this is what we call the 7Ps of service marketing. And so we're going to then, that's an additional value that we're going to look at. And the 7Ps helps companies to review and define key issues that affect the marketing of its products and services. And it's often now referred to as what we call the 7Ps framework for digital marketing. So looking at the 7Ps of marketing, we can say that the 7Ps, it includes traditional elements, which is of course the 4Ps as we know it, which we have the product, the place, the price, and the promotional strategies. But then you also have what we call the new elements. And these new elements include the people, the processes, and the physical evidence. And here we can see that the new elements were focused on the people, which are actually your target customers, and even those are there's stakeholders around the business that you find yourself, and the role that they play towards actually getting your or positioning your product in the market. And again, we're going to look at each one. Then you have the processes. The process here, you talk about and remember, when I talk about processes here, we're talking about the level of capabilities that an organization is able to have in line with the resources that it has available to us, and how it's able to utilize it towards having a more standard or more equipped process, whether it's in terms of the delivery system, or whether it's the services that exist, or even if it's a back end system whereby you have how the production process is all part of that. So the processes here is talking about the service delivery, is talking about the complaint system or the customer care system that exists, or the response time that it takes to respond to customers, all plays a major role towards positioning your product in the market. Then you have the physical evidence. Here, this physical evidence talking about the user stories, things like the user stories, recommendations, office premises, the buzz of how the brand image of the organization is, how the organization is able to structure itself and portray an image of excellence, of excellence in service delivery, and excellence of customer care, and excellence of attending to their customers or products, is all part of what we talk about when we talk about the physical elements or the physical evidence and the role that they play. And even when you talk about, for example, the logos, the image in terms of what the color concepts and what makes up the organization, is all part of the physical elements, and how those are incorporated into everything and anything that the organization does, and understanding that brings out the brand image of the organization. And that's why you see organizations nowadays, they will have blog posts, they have different social media channels that they provide stories of social responsibilities, or they provide stories of things happening to individuals and how it is incorporated into their brand. And this goes a long way in giving them a kind of face, a kind of image, or a positive image that helps to position themselves in the market. So we can see this, what we call now the 7 P's of marketing, which is more towards the evolution of technology that we see today and the role that it plays towards positioning a product in the global space or the global market that we find ourselves today. But then again, just going back to traditional elements and trying to incorporate or diffuse them into what we call the target market, and understanding that at the end of the day, when we look at whether it's the 4 P's or you're looking at all in all, the 7 P's, at the end of the day, what's in the middle there is what we call the target market. And the target market, of course, determines at the end of the day what is going to what is going to be incorporated, and how these 7 P's that we've talked about, how they're going to be strategized towards positioning the product within the market that it finds itself. But just to go into the target market a little bit, when we talk about the target market, it is focused on those customers that basically provide the niche of where you want. That's the niche, or what we call niche or niche, that we want to focus on in terms of who we're trying to provide our services to. And once you're able to define who your target market is, you're able to then understand how they work in terms of their normal activities, their day-to-day activities, what their likes, dislikes are, their demographics. And once you're able to understand their demographics and the characteristics of who they are, it goes a long way in helping you to know what type of product to sell to them and how you should sell it, meaning the packaging, what attracts that type of target market in terms of the demographics and characteristics, but then also the price that will work for them. Of course, as I am giving an example, if, for example, you have a product like a Porsche, we talk about the Porsche, and we know the Porsche is an expensive car, but the Porsche, because it's an expensive car, and you say that you're focused on price, and because of the economy, you want to sell at a lower price, even though I know that's not feasible. But just giving an example, at the end of the day, understanding that you're using what we call exclusivity pricing system, which is basically understanding that the type of target market or target customers that you're focused on are people that are influential, that are more of higher income earners, or if not even millionaires and billionaires, and it's all about exclusivity. They wouldn't want anybody and everybody to have access to those cars, knowing that you wouldn't want to bring down your price, because bringing down your price means affordability, and then you would give access, and that exclusivity will no more be there. So with that, you're understanding that you wouldn't want to then go into lowering your price, knowing that that's not how you're going to get the target market that you're focused on. But then again, because that that's your target market, you're talking about high influential people. Even the place, meaning how it's distributed, it wouldn't be the typical distribution system whereby you distribute it to wholesalers or retailers. You would have to then say it's exclusive, it's directly from the parent company that someone will need to buy. You would have to know maybe the CEO or the head of the company, and then you would make your order. Or they would have exclusive sales representatives that only meet those high-end influential customers or target market that have been identified. But then you'd also talk about the promotional strategy in instances where you have brands like Porsche. If you notice, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but Porsche is never advertised. There's a reason. It's all about that exclusivity. So it's only exclusive to a few. I know recently I was told about a hospital in Nigeria. I can't remember. In Abuja here in FCT. I can't recall the name of the hospital. I've never heard of the hospital name. One of my friends she was informing me about the hospital. But what I found interesting was that she said it's exclusive hospital. It is only for, of course, the high influential politicians, businessmen in Abuja, the who and who, and it's only them that, and it doesn't even have, of course, what do you call it? You can't see the name of the hospital displayed in the hospital. You only see a number. So only those that know of the hospital actually use the hospital, and it's actually a children's hospital. So of course, it's for the kids of those high influential people. But again, it just goes back to that exclusivity and understanding your brand and who your target market is. And once you know how they work in terms of their characteristics, behaviors, their likes and dislikes, automatically you'd have to then, follow suit in terms of positioning yourself. Of course, you talk about the people in terms of the new elements that we talked about earlier on, in when directing to the target market, and knowing, who the type of employees you're going to get in the organization, and then training them to a certain extent. The hospital that I just gave an example of, I'm sure you would automatically know the difference of how the nurses or the receptionists or the security men would behave in that type of hospital compared to a public hospital in Nigeria typically. Again, yes, it all has to do with the who is who there, but at the end of the day, there would be an extra effort in terms of the type of people they put there, their dressing and how they dress, and they have to dress to perfection and a certain way that shows the level of integrity, level of expertise and then of course the image that they're trying to portray in that hospital. But then also the culture in terms of the organizational culture that exists, and how that integrates the way in which, again, those nurses, those doctors, those security would act in that organization in line with the target market that they're focusing on. You talk about the processes, again, the processes, creating a delivery system, a service system, a customer system that is exclusive to that target market is essential. So again, in line with the hospital that I'm giving you an example with, making sure that you put a service delivery in place that caters to that type of target market is what is essential, towards getting the brand across or the product across or positioning yourself in the market. Then finally, the physical evidence in terms of how you brand yourself. So the physical evidence, for example, what I gave you in terms of the hospital I'm talking about, whereby I say it doesn't have, the name is not displayed of the hospital, it just has a number. And those that know, it's all part of the physical evidence. It is all part of that exclusivity that then portrays the hospital as something different or differentiates it from other competing hospitals in Abuja FCT. And all this at the end of the day is tied towards who the target market is and identifying who your target market is. So with that, going to the next topic, which is going to be product and price.